Hello guys, I am Nikhil and this is my submission for CircuitDigest project. So as you can see, I have already loaded my Memento board with the code and I've powered it on. So first let's discuss about the code and the project itself.
So this is the code. Before entering into the code, let me just go through the project once. In this project, when you log in through a website or through any of your devices, it will ask for your name or your email and a password. But after that, you can add a 2FA, which is most commonly known, which will be done using either SMS, email, or your authenticator apps. But rather than just using some apps or something that is easily hackable and trackable, we can use some object, a specific object which is different from everything else, a object that only you can have at a time. So using that object as a 2FA, you create something called as a physical 2FA. So with that being as the basis of our project, let's start. So I'm going to walk you through the exactly how the C++ code works and a neat little trick I used to do the image processing without crashing the microcontroller. So let's get into it. The problem I faced during this project was both my SD card slot and the camera slot stopped working. And even when replacing the camera, I wasn't able to fix it because the connector which connected the board to the camera was totally burnt out, and even the SD card slot was not working anymore. So I had to store all the images on the board, which I did using the code itself. So let me just go through it. Looking at the top of the code, we can see the first thing we did was to set up a Wi-Fi, but we aren't connecting to a home router. Instead, I'm using Wi-Fi.soft AP. This turns the Memento board into its own Wi-Fi hotspot called Memento Volt. You just need to connect your phone directly to this port. I've also created a struct called user, as you can see here. Uh, this actually accesses our mini database stored right in the RAM. It holds the username, password, and four different angles of the physical key. I capped it at three users max just to keep the light on the memory. Next up is the front end. Obviously, an Memento board doesn't have a massive hard drive, so I didn't want to mess with the SD cards just to host a few web pages. Instead, I used Progmem. If you look at the login underscore HTML, scan underscore HTML, and vault underscore variable, I just literally pasted the raw HTML, CSS, and JavaScript directly into the C++ code. Program tells the compiler to store these massive blocks of text in flash memory instead of eating up our precious RAM. When you go to a route like the login page, the server send function just splits the massive string of HTML straight to your browser. So coming to the scan underscore HTML, if you just scroll down this whole HTML page, uh, you can see that uh, we are generating an image and then we are doing real-time analysis for that, right? So you may be wondering like how on earth is an ESP32 on the Momento doing real-time image recognition? The secret is it isn't. Uh, this board is way too weak for that. I offloaded all the heavy lifting to the phone. So inside the JavaScript of the scanner page, there's a function called hash generate or generate hash. When you snap a photo, your phone, the browser shrinks down the image into tiny 32x32 pixel square. It converts it to black and white, calculates the average brightness, and split out the 1024 character string of ones and zeros. It only sends that lightweight string of text back to ESP32. It's a super cheap way to fingerprint an image. So the ESP receives the strings of 1 and 0. What does it do with it? So now if we go down, you can see this angle verify object here. So what it does is it pulls the four baseline angles you saved when you registered your object, and it compares the new string to the saved ones using a simple loop to count how many bits are different. Because the lighting and the angles change every time you hold the object, I added a threshold of 154, as you can see, which is basically a 15% error margin. The difference is below the threshold, the board says access granted, locks your session time, and kicks you over to the secure vault dashboard. If it isn't, it just says it's a wrong object and the access is denied. So And that's pretty much the core of our whole code over here. And it was really fun way to mix hardware to a web dev and some creative problem solving to get around the limits of a microcontroller. In my case, burnt out microcontroller. So if you guys like want to try building this yourself, the code is down in the description. I will give you a live demo of how this thing works. So let's get into it.
So as you can see from the code, as we have understood, this device can store images as points and then can detect the objects again, and those objects can be used as a key to your safe or any other device or world. So let's just show you the tutorial. So I have my mobile over here. Just as I want to say, this Memento board is not working correctly. The camera over here and the SD card slot are both burned out, so the project was changed drastically. So I had to come up with some other measures to overcome the problem that I was facing over here. So one, as explained in the code, was to optimize the memory by converting the points, converting the image into points rather than storing the actual images. And the other point being using my mobile as the camera in place of the camera used here. So let's begin with it. So as you can see, the board is turned on right now, and with this, let's hop onto my this thing. So if I go to my Wi-Fi settings, as you can see, the board shows up as Memento Vault. So if I click on that, and if I enter the password 12345678, our device successfully connects with our board, as you can see. Now let's move on to the actual code. So now if you use the HTTP login, which is 192.168.41 as your IP address to log in with the page, you will reach a page something like this. So this is the basic web dashboard that I had to create because of the issue with Memento. So let me just go through it and let me explain my project as I go along. So initially we have a dashboard. Before it is not reset yet. Basically it must show the data without reset, but because our SD card slot is burnt up, so currently it just resets every time you press reset. So for now, let's create a new account. So I'll just give it my name, Nikhil, and I'll choose a password as 1234. So this is the initial steps. You create the account. So while creating an account, you need to choose an object and take image of it from 4 different angles. So for example, I have my earpods as example. So now if I place it over here and just capture few images of it from different angles, you can see this is the first angle. Now if I choose the second angle as the backward part, third angle as the top part, and finally the fourth angle as the side part. As you can see, it will complete the setup. Now if we just take the object and verify our object key once, as you can see, we log into our a dummy account. This is just a dummy account created for purposes of showing it to you. So now if we log out and let me just log into the account that I just created. Usually what you do when you enter the sites is either you enter your name, password, and if you have a 2FA, you either enter a code which changes regularly, but that can be hacked easily. and that is why this project comes into the picture. Now, as you can see, I have my object that I created as a 2FA. So now if I take a image of it, as you can see, I can log in. So now hope somebody let's not hope, so somebody finds your password, login password, and your key. And they use some other object, like they don't know what to do, and for example, they take the object as this thing, and they just take an image of it and then put it enter. As you can see, the object does not match to a registered key, and it just doesn't open. It's not only for this thing. If you just take random photos, let me take the Memento board here, it doesn't open. My random hand, again it doesn't open. Wait for you to access this account again is using this object. As you can see, now I am able to access my account again. Now, for the sake of explaining everything, if this board hadn't burned out, I had the idea of using the same camera rather than using the camera of my phone. One more thing, if the SD card was still working, the photos of the image, rather than getting saved as let's say points, we would have stored them as either JPEG or some other image formats, so that, and not only 4 images, we could have used multiple images, about 30 to 40 images of a single object from various angles, various lightings, and then say stored a model in the ESP, rather than storing these points and getting a threshold value to cross the verify the object. So if I had both the SD card and the camera working, whole dashboard would be on the screen, and every verification you should have used the board itself. Let's say how this project is applicable. So you could create a dashboard or a web dashboard where any website, for login purposes, you could just connect to your Memento board, just click a photo using the shutter button, and you could just verify and log in. Or it could be used for any physical vaults as well, any physical vault where you store your money, or maybe your valuables. You can use this as an inbuilt 2FA slot, where other than inputting your password, you have to show an object. Now the object I used here is very generic and you can find it everywhere, but this works the best when you use object which is one time available, something like a Ray Charizard card which you pulled in your childhood, or maybe a handmade token or a brochure, anything it's just with you. This makes the world unbreachable without you having the object or anybody having that object. So yes, this is my project for CircuitDigest competition, physical 2FA. Thank you.